Welcome back to the Glint Standard Podcast. This is Craig, I'm Jake, and I need a haircut. Do you know what we're talking about today? Or have I surprised you?
Something about the spring and spring forward, jump back. I don't know.
We live in Texas.
Yeah.
So it's springtime in what, February?
Well, we just came off of 20-degree weather. And then on Saturday, 97.
So we're back. It's essential. We don't really have springs. We have winter and summer.
I love those few days of spring, though, and fall. They are my favorite.
Every once in a while, 3 days of spring, and then we're back. Mm-hmm. But we are talking about spring, mostly just in the global sense of the spring season. We live in Texas, but it's almost quarter two. I feel like we are talking about what we can adjust, based off of quarter one. And that's kind of the idea of this podcast of springing it forward. It's that spring cleaning time of year where we've collected data in quarter one and it's time to change,
For us or for clients or for both or what?
I think it's in general. I have the attitude where, life in general is forever evolving. But
wait till you get to be my age.
Yeah. But in the sense of these things, it's the marketing strategy. I just went on a trip to Austin, learned a bunch of stuff at the Google Boost Camp.
Yep.
But I came back with a lot of new ideas, and one thing that stuck with me was that it's never bad to change your strategy. Everything is evolving constantly nowadays.
I agree.
And so if you get that new data, or not new data, but the existing data from Q1, what can you do to improve it? I guess. I would say that a lot of people find that maybe changing your strategy after just 3 months it might be bad. It might be seen as a failure, like you failed in those first 3 months. But I don't see it that way. I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the way people are used to thinking, it's set your yearly strategy, align it, drive it, here you go.
Yeah.
Some of that's driven by agency, some by clients. You define the work you're going to do for a client based on a scope of work, even if you've got a long-term contract in place. So do you stick with that and never change or budge? It's a terrible idea because economy plays into it, employees play into it, and this is for all clients, not just us. Pricing plays into it, location. You could have a store and you have a fire.
Fire?
You never know.
You
do. That's where fire sale comes from.
Okay. See, and that's why you're on the podcast right there.
There you go.
You're quit. Once I challenged you on the fire.
Yeah.
That's where fire sale comes from.
Fire sale.
I'm not sure.
I got answers, baby.
There's this one. I have to say this. There's this one clip from this show where he thinks he's auditioning. And he thinks it's like a fire sale. And so he's the guy and he's like, oh no, there's a fire sale. He doesn't realize it's a fire sale commercial, but that was you right there.
Yeah,
you had to switch it up.
You got to roll, baby.
Yeah, you got to do it.
No, I think it's okay to adapt, and you should.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you should do it just because you should do it. If things are working, let it work.
Of course.
At the end of the day, it's we did a lot of retail a long time ago for like Donna Karen and Polo. We would see these ads every single day. So after a month or so, you're like, we're seeing this too much. We gotta change it up. Well, you have to remember your audience doesn't see it that much.
Yeah.
And you have to remind clients that too sometimes. Like the messaging's good, It's driving the way it needs to. It's getting momentum. We'll ride this out to the end of the year if we have to, because the numbers are showing that it's working, right? And looking at the numbers, I mean, 1 quarter is good to get some general idea of where you're going.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go longer. It just depends on how big the campaign is and what you're really trying to achieve.
What I'd say to that, I think it's worth evaluating at least.
You should always be evaluating.
Yeah,
yes.
always evaluating, but it's, you did the first quarter, and even if it's going great, there's still room for improvement. Complacency, because it's going good, that's how you get behind, I'd say. And maybe, not for us specifically, but I think that, it's spring cleaning time. That's what it is.
But going back to my point, it doesn't mean you have to.
No.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
You don't. I know.
You shouldn't be changing things just because you feel like you should change them.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
But the evaluation and seeing that it's going good,
yes,
and then using that information to try to see, where trends might go. Maybe it's 3 quarters from now. Maybe it's 2.
That's probably more realistic, about 2 quarters, halfway through.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with a year.
Yeah.
And really making decisions. Here's what worked well. Here's what didn't work well. Here's where we adapted. Do we shift more budget this direction? Do we keep it where it is? There's a lot to it all. Do we need new creative? Right?
Yes. Yeah.
All of it comes into play, but you should be evaluating that 100%. And then you determine yes or no.
I guess that's what this podcast is about. It's just a little reminder that, hey, get ahead of it.
Well, it's like you said in the beginning, though.
That's what spring
is it a
cleaning's
failure?
about.
If you have to change direction, is it a failure? No.
Yeah.
That means you're smart.
Yeah.
You're paying attention. And
Either,
you're going, okay, this didn't work like we thought. Let's change it. Or what if we adjusted this much? Is it worth the risk? Yeah, let's do it. Let's see what happens. That's smart. It's not a failure at all. It's the exact opposite.
You either, I'd say there's 2 things that you do in quarter 2. You either get ahead of the program, or you catch up, and if things weren't working in quarter 1, it's spring cleaning time, baby. You like that? You like how I said that like that? But then there's also a time when everything's working, but it's still spring cleaning time.
It's stagnant,
that's
right?
why that term exists.
And it's one of those things, like everything's working great. Like if we're going to pitch new business and everything's going great, okay, could it be going better?
Yeah.
Are you doing great, but you could be doing better? You have to know that answer. And the answer is, well, I don't know. That's why you stop and you evaluate and you change if you need to.
Yeah.
It's that type of thing, There's no guarantees in marketing. There's none.
Yeah. You've
got to listen to the market. You got to look at what the trends are. You got to know what your consumers are about, and you adapt. You have to adapt.
There's something that you said that I have to ask you.
Okay.
Have you ever been like, that's a guarantee? Ever one time in
with
marketing?
What we do?
In marketing?
No.
Never one time?
Never once.
You haven't been like, that's going to hit it out the ballpark. And it did?
I've thought that, and it did, but that's not a guarantee.
But give me an example. We'll cut the thinking part out.
Yeah, because it might take me a minute. We've done a lot of really good things. The ballpark. There was a teak furniture company.
Yeah.
Knocked the socks off of it and this was years ago, doing direct mail. Still kind of failed a little bit though.
Oh my goodness!
Because it did too well.
Because it did too well.
Yeah, we weren't prepared for it.
And no, explain more.
So part of what we were promoting, teak furniture is expensive, so it's going to a more affluent audience.
Yeah.
They bought into what we were doing. We were talking about customer service and the quality and all this. Well, the phone rang so much that the client wasn't ready to receive that kind of volume. So phones weren't getting answered, calls weren't being returned, and it became a disaster.
Yeah.
So then we had to pivot and do some PR around that and figure out, okay, how do we make sure this doesn't happen again? Because you have to think in terms of that too.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
Even though it's not,
knock it out of the park.
It might have not been spring cleaning, but that's spring cleaning. You know, it's not a failure. I mean, you got failure from not failure, but you succeeded too hard, essentially.
Which caused failure.
Yeah, right. But
we were able to recover, but there was some damage done because of it. No one was ready for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But that's what we're talking about, you know? It's you gotta.
Thing is, like today though, everybody's always immediately when you talk about making changes, I think everyone's mind goes to digital.
Right.
Oh, we'll just change some ads out. It's
all
digital. Upload a new ad. Here we go.
Yep.
And it's quick and easy.
Yeah.
Where if it's something physical, it takes longer. It's not true. It takes just as long to change it and rebuild and relearn when you're going through a digital project. That's the thing you've got to remember too. It's not like, should we adapt and change? I mean, it's a serious question. And if you say yes, there's a lot of work involved.
Right.
And that's what you have to realize. Is it worth the work for what it might do for us? Because it could also damage things and not work quite as well. Yeah. That learning, though, especially if you're working on a new campaign or with a new client, that learning has to be there. That's part of it. And you can manage that. You want to kind of land in the middle, but it's fun to test the waters a little bit. And then those little nuggets hit, and it's a gold mine. Yeah. It's great.
But it's also, I mean, great story. That really hit on the nail, I think.
It took me a minute,
for what we were.
Like, where do I go with
for
this?
What we were talking about?
Let me go really, really old client.
Yeah, well, might as well. I mean, yeah, you probably signed 17 million NDAs now.
I think I'm at 16,999.
Oh, okay. You're not quite there.
000.
I'm at 17,000,001. So
are you?
I'm just a little bit.
I have not seen that.
Yeah,
I'm not blowing by my desk.
I'm not allowed to talk about it, so
fair enough.
Yeah, but
so as you're taking on more and more roles, what do you see with clients? What do you see internally where we do adapt and we change, and how drastic do you think it is? Does it feel drastic? Do you think it's more when a client wants it? Is it more reactionary, or is there real purpose behind what they're doing?
I would say. I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, that's multiple questions.
There's a lot of questions.
But I think I don't want to be that guy. But I think that it's not, having ideas as much as being with the times. I don't know if that explains it, but
no, I think it's being with the times means understanding your environment, but also understanding where the client is from a business perspective.
Right.
And that's where a lot of agencies fail. They don't understand the client's business.
Yes.
And when you understand their business, you're making better decisions. So if a client does go, I want to make a change, it's our job to say no, if that should be the answer.
Or yes.
Or yes. But here's why.
Yeah.
Not just yes or no. It's not emotional anymore. You got to try to drive some of that out, because what we do is very emotional. It is for our clients too. We care a lot about what we do. They're very passionate about what they do. So you have to get some of that emotion out. But that is the job. And if they say, I still want to do it, all right, let's knock it out of the park.
To answer your question more, after hearing your answer, of course, But what was it again? No, I'm just joking. But I think the things that I've learned from, getting more clients and, doing more at Glint, it's almost like there's a lot of managing business, It's not as much about marketing. There's a lot of times where somebody has a business and they've told us that they have a problem, and it's about managing their problems. I feel like marketing and advertising is great. We do that, of course. That's the busy work with us. But as people, generally, our job is managing the overall. We're managing the overalls. You know, somebody's a decision maker and they're coming to us with a problem and we are trying to fix it. You know, it's like it's their job, their brain power is going towards fixing the day to day, you know, and our brain power is going to fixing the big picture, you know?
Yeah, but we also can't do that unless we ask them, okay, if we fix this, what's that going to do for your business?
Right.
And if they can't answer that,
yeah.
Well, we know we're talking about something completely different at that point. Maybe we're talking about branding.
Yeah.
Which doesn't have a lot of ROI. It helps ROI, but it doesn't really have ROI on it.
For us.
Right? Not just for us, even for the client.
Right.
So really, that's the business side you're talking about. Really understanding that piece of it, what's it going to do for you, then what are you going to do with that? Mm-hmm. And it doesn't take you down the path as far as you want, but the more information we have, the more we can come up, the better we can provide a solution for the problem. Because if say you're a business, say you're an investor and you've bought into a business, and it's just an example, and you go, okay, well, what do you want to do with this business in 5 years? Oh, well, I'd love to get to a point where I could sell it. Or, you know, this is a business, I enjoy doing it, I want it to grow and be profitable over the next 5-10 years. The way we approach the marketing for that is completely different.
Yeah.
What we set on the back end to make it easy for the person, if they're going to sell, to make them to go and go, this is a very solid system in place, this company really has it going on, they look great online, the brand's on point, all that kind of good stuff.
Right. I'd say first off, we should get back to talking about the spring.
I was about to say that too, because we're a little on a tangent here.
Yeah, we're going off, but you know.
Well, I mean,
I'm not cutting out anything, but
should you make change? Yes.
Yeah. Should you make change, or not?
If you need to.
Okay.
Let's just call it adapt. You should adapt. You should be looking at what you're doing consistently and just making a decision on whether you should adapt or not.
Okay.
For us, whether we're doing it with a client or we're doing it for the client.
You know, we talked about great stuff, but I feel like the viewers are wondering what they can actually do. It's easy to say like, oh yeah, you might have to reevaluate, but if somebody came to you and said, we need to reevaluate, what would be the first thing you did?
You go look at the numbers.
The numbers.
The data.
Right.
Impressions, conversions, ROI. Are we performing and driving a result? Because it tells us where the challenges are. So we can ask the question why, and they can give us the answer, and we can say, yeah, we agree.
When you say they, who
client.
The client.
Right? Mm-hmm. So then if we find that it's, for whatever reason, we need to shift, because there's a lot of reasons, we go in and we don't just turn off everything we're doing. Is there a way to subtly shift into this new direction? Or do we need to take the time to create what it needs to be holistically across at least 3 or 4 different channels and then change and drive?
Right.
Right? You don't want to surprise your audience with all of a sudden you take a completely different look trying to do the same thing and what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to have a strategy in how you implement that change, and you also have to, change usually comes a lot of times from a reaction of it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. So they want change immediate.
Yeah.
Immediate change is a bad idea because now you're dumping a less planned adjustment on top of a problem, which is going to create more problems.
Yeah.
You have to understand, if you want to make a change, great, let's work on that. The work it took to get to where you are probably takes at least another 70% of that to make that adjustment and implement it correctly to give it the best chance to succeed. So that's what I would say, that's the process, and it's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah, I'd say business is like the tides, you know. Maybe there's change, but when you're saying there needs to be instant change, I mean, if it's high tide, it's got to be lower or whatever. That's what I'd say. But just hearing what you're saying, I'd say the next step is truly taking advantage of that initial strategy change. It does take time. People ask for instant change, but then I feel like, and maybe that's just me, the people get stagnant. You know, when people have a great big new idea of change, they're like, I did it. You know, I've done it. I've thought of the new thing. But that thought it's not enough. That people think of big new changes so that they can dodge doing the work.
I don't know if I buy that.
Oh, you don't think so?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, I think I got you. I think I read you.
But what I think you're talking about is you're talking about change for change's sake.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, there are times when clients that want that, and it's not a good idea.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about is something like after probably 12 months, that's when that should happen. That probably shouldn't be happening in 3 months.
Yeah.
At that point, you've forgotten what you bought into, what the long-term plan was, and you're off that now. And now you constantly are shifting. I mean, it's hard to be successful in that world.
Yeah.
But you feel like, oh my gosh, we've had a tough month. We've got to change something.
Yeah.
Is it seasonal? Do you always have a tough month at this time?
It's weird.
You probably do.
I think everyone does.
So let's just keep going because you got to know your business cycles.
Right.
A lot of times that's all it is.
Yeah.
Now, if you're typically here and now you're here, okay, what's changed? And sometimes it's something to do with the business. It could be something to do with sales. You got to evaluate what that is before you just jump in. So evaluation.
I'd say evaluation. I'd also say non-reactionary.
I agree with that. Here's where I think a nuance to it, right? I call this adapting.
Be careful.
So you've got your strategy in place, you're running along, and all of a sudden there's an opportunity that hits that aligns great within the economy. Oh, we got to get on top of this and take advantage of this. We're not stopping everything we're doing. We're putting more dollars towards this specific event to run for a month or 2 months, 3 months. Still aligning, but adapting something completely different, taking advantage.
Yeah.
Right. So that's a different thing too. But that's part of just being aware. But that is also adapting your business to what's going on in the world for sure.
I'd say so.
Yeah.
All right. This is the part of the podcast that is like fun times.
Fun times.
We'll try to get something out of it.
Okay.
Huh?
What are we getting out of it?
I don't know. Rock, paper, scissors. I bet I beat you. You want to play rock, paper, scissors? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh.
You did beat me. Man.
I mean, that's fun times. Slammed. How's it feel?
I feel okay now because I feel like it's not a one and done type situation.
I mean, we could go best 2 out of 3.
All right, let's do it.
No, I don't want to.
I win.
You
got to be on it. You got to be ready. You got to roll. You got to change.
Viewers, is it 1-1 or did Jake win the rock, paper, scissors? Thank you. I'm saying pre-thanks to the comments.
Or did I win and next podcast Jake won't be here anymore?
Oh my God. Viewers, folks, you know.
Yeah, that's a hard angle to take. Yeah, my bad.
It's ridiculous. So that's what I'm dealing with here at the Glint podcast. But
hey, like I say, it's tough to work here.
I'll cut it. Who cares?
What a great episode. You want to see some more great episodes? Watch those here. Subscribe here.